First off, not a lot of people know this about me, but I went to college for unmanned aircraft systems, which is like drones. And so I went there to be trained on big UAS, like military UAS, like the Predator and that type of thing. I'm Widgeon, my real name's Connor, and way back in 2008 is when I joined the Roblox platform. For the first couple years, I was just a player. I was just, going on OBs and going on Heli Wars and all of these really OG games, just really trying to grasp what Roblox was. And of course, all of my friends, at the time in middle school, I was sharing this with them, kept getting more and more into it. Eventually, I downloaded Studio, and then I tried making really simple vehicles, like aircraft, but they weren't really aircraft at all. The first actual game I made was this game where you flew airplanes from one island to another island, and you had to deliver cargo between these two teams, and that was the entire game. You just delivered cargo with planes between two islands, and that was probably 10 years ago. And now Roblox and myself has come such a long way from that in terms of scripting and the features that Roblox has allowed us to use. Fast forward about 2 years, I started making this game that most people are familiar with. It's called Lumber Inc. And Lumber Inc. was a spin-off of Defaultio's Lumber Tycoon, the OG Lumber Tycoon, not the second one. But I wanted to make a game that was team-based. So Defaultio's game was single player. You pretty much just were involved in your own thing. But I wanted to make a team-based game where everyone had to contribute towards a common goal. And so everyone would have to go chop down wood and then process the wood. And then at the end, everyone was rewarded equally for their part in playing that role. I called this series the Inc. series. So there's Lumber Inc. and then there's Mining Inc. And they both have this team aspect that you're forced to work as a team. That was pretty fun, and it got pretty popular for a while, but there was really no progression. There's no replayability in that because you could unlock vehicles, but once you unlocked all the vehicles, there was really nothing to do. There was nothing that was, UGC. There was nothing that player could do themselves. Moving forward a little bit more, there was mini golf, and then I worked on the Plaza one, which was about 4 or 5 years ago now. That game, I really wanted to make something that would really appeal to a wide demographic. And to do that, it had to be pretty generic, and it had to involve a lot of aspects, and to do all these aspects reasonably well. And so it had mini games, it had condo building, it had vehicles, it had exploration, social environments. And so that was kind of the trifecta, of features. And that game got pretty popular for a year until I got bored with it. And so me as a developer, it's really hard for me to work on something that I don't like to work on. If I'm going to work on something, it's going to be something that I like to do. I don't want to be forced into a situation or forced into building a certain game that I may not actually like building.
So this is an audience question from Force Law. So what was your inspiration behind the aviation development that you've been working on, like AirX, and what are your long-term plans for AirX, and I guess any other future aviation games you have?
AirX, first off, not a lot of people know this about me, but I went to college for unmanned aircraft systems, which is drones. And so I went there to be trained on big UAS, like military UAS, like the Predator and that type of thing. And so to do that program, I had to become a commercial pilot. And so to become a commercial pilot, you have to go through multiple years of training to become a commercial pilot. I went through all this training and I spent a lot of time in college, and then I determined that it was not something I wanted to pursue. And so I really was passionate about Roblox, and I wasn't that passionate about, sitting in a box in the desert, just flying these like little planes around. It is still my passion. Aviation is my passion. It was just not something I was not wanting to do at the time. So I wanted to bring all of that knowledge that I learned in college and through actual flying experience into Roblox. And so I built the first AirX about 2 or 3 years ago. It was a very simplified version. It was pretty much just a dumbed down flight simulator with like basic controls, basic aerodynamics. And that was like pretty okay. But then recently so the dev space, they closed. And so I determined that I wanted to switch kind of projects. And so I started making this new AirX right as the Roblox HQ closed. This new AirX is basically the most realistic flight simulator on Roblox. So in real life, there's things such as like weight, mass, torque, forces, and all these things. And these are all just numbers. And you can put these numbers into Roblox. Roblox is a physics engine. And if you use these same numbers and you convert these, numbers and values correctly, you can make a one-to-one realistic simulation of anything. And so that's what I sought to do. And that's what I'm still doing.
How has your life changed since starting on Roblox? What did it look like before? What were you doing before? And how has it changed since actually doing all that you've done?
Before I moved to California, so I was in college and then I went to California. But before I moved to California, my life was pretty minimal, I guess. I was living in North Dakota, which is not the most populous state. There is nothing to do. The only thing that we really could do is fly airplanes. And so I flew for training, and I also worked as a chief pilot for a drone company called Skyscraper. So I would fly drones above like power lines, and I would use drones to do like thermal inspections of roofs and that type of thing. It wasn't that fun. And I really had this yearning to move to California. One day I told my boss and I told my friends like, hey, I'm moving to California for Roblox. And they were all just kind of like, oh, like, yeah, like Roblox. Yeah. And so, but I was really, really excited about it. Once I moved to California, for a while, it was really lonely because no one was here. None of my friends that I have now were with me. And so I was just like, you just like take Widgeon and you put them in California, and there's no one in California for me to talk to. And then over the next like couple months to couple years, I started making a lot more friends. And then, Scripton and Austin, they started living in California. And so it was really easy for me to start making a really good social life for myself. And I was really having a really good work and life balance. And so I think my quality of life definitely improved when I moved from North Dakota to California.
So if you could describe your story up until this point with just 1 or 2 words, what would they be and why?
I want to say it's gone by fast, but maybe that's because I'm old. And, I've been on this platform for like 10 to 12 years, but it seems like things have happened like really fast, especially in the past like 2 to 4 years, where Roblox has really grown in terms of like their staff and the number of features and the number of players that are coming on board. And sometimes I feel like, I'm getting left behind because these people are just like so fast, and I may not be fast enough. But, I think Roblox is really turning into a platform like YouTube where, these certain types of people excel really, really far. And it's maybe difficult for other people to catch up.
So obviously in your 10 years of being on Roblox, there's got to be at least one thing that you've had to face and overcome, a challenge or a roadblock. Could you tell me about those challenges to Roblox that you faced both as a person and as a creator on the platform?
For me, I'm really like kind of a solo developer. Just recently, I've kind of built a little team of modelers for AirX, but before AirX, I really never worked with anyone else. So I think one of the challenges that I really had is that I could never specialize myself. I always had to be the jack of all trades. I had to do modeling, I had to do scripting, I had to do marketing, I had to do all these things. But now I've learned that what you really need to do is you need to specialize in these fields. You need to be really, really, really good at scripting, or you have to be really, really good at marketing, and then form a team around these specialized roles. And I think that's what really accelerates teams. So I think one of the biggest challenges that I had is that I didn't have a team. I just tried to do everything myself, and I think that slowed me down in the end.
So what are some resources that you would recommend for someone looking to get into, I guess, game development as a whole? And maybe even to a point where it gets them a Tesla, I guess.
Yeah, so a lot of people ask me, like, can you teach me how to script? And I'm sure a lot of developers get this as like, oh, can you teach me how to script? What YouTube videos do I need to watch to be able to do what you do, blah, blah. But really, it has nothing to do with any of those. What you really need to do is practice. You need to open up Roblox Studio, and you need to go try to actually do what you're out to trying to accomplish. If you're trying to make an airplane, maybe you should download a plane kit and then look at the script in the plane kit and then try to figure out what that script is doing and then try to mimic that. And that's really how I think a lot of developers, get to where they are today, is they just play around with things and then they never stop learning. They understand that they don't know everything and that there's always more to come. And so there's always something that you can learn.
Like, what's a personal goal? What's something you're working towards right now, personally?
Personally, I want to have another front page game. And I think the only way that I can do that is with the Plaza 2. I really need to strap down and really think about what makes a good Roblox game. Because I'm 25, maybe I've lost a little bit of touch with the front page. And I think, some other developers kind of feel like this too. It's hard to think about what these kids really like. And so that's something that Adopt Me, has obviously done really well. And it's difficult for some people like myself to really make a good game for that demographic.
So, last question. What advice do you have for the audience watching right now?
Yeah, so the best advice I can give you is open up Roblox Studio and go make something.